the YouTube live session that is how to score 90 plus in science. I welcome you all to this session. Well, I believe everything is going good. You are really well. And a very congratulations to everybody. Reason being, your mathematics examination is finally over. It's a big relief, isn't it? So, I want a quick update from you people only. How was your maths exam? Well, I watched the video analysis video of your previous exam, that is maths, and I found that most of the questions that came in your maths exam was from NCRT only, right? Okay, so yes, in comparison to the previous year, your maths exam was relatively on a much easier side. Okay, Otis says it is good. Some says it was bad, and Science Hub has an issue of our paper was set hard. Okay, maths was easy, so we can say that most of the students have scored good in their maths examination or are going to score good. Well, I just have few suggestions for you guys. For example, for those who have scored good, like very congratulations to them. But for those who haven't performed well or their expectations are not fulfilled, I would really recommend you guys just do not hold yourself back. You know, there is a fair chance that you can score good marks in your science exam also. All right, guys? Okay. Yes. Okay, there is one more tip and one more information I would like to share, that this is not going to be a 45-minute session. Okay, this is just going to be a 10 to 15-minute session. Reason being, this is your second part of how to score 90 plus. Okay, if you want to go, okay, if you want to see the previous video of how to score 90 plus, I would recommend you to go to the Merit Nation page of YouTube, and you need to see the video there. Okay, so without further ado, let us get started with the session. Right, so this is basically a preparation strategy for you guys. Today is 8th of March. We are considering that by this day, by the end of this day, you would be done with your syllabus, right? So we would be left with only 4 days, that is 9th of March, 10th, 11th, and 12th of March. Okay, right, guys, I'm doing really fine. Let us just focus on the session. So we can say that on 9th of March, you can take your physics, or you can consider it to be a physics day. Reason? Like physics is something that most of the students consider difficult, okay, because it contains your derivations, some sort of formulas. So you can take physics on day one, right? On day two, you can take your chemistry. On day three, you can take your biology subject. And on the day four, you can revise all these things, right? So is it a rigid schedule? No. This is quite flexible depending upon your choice of interest. If you are pretty comfortable with physics and you find chemistry difficult, you can switch the subjects. You can take chemistry as your day one. All right. All right. Let us get started with the session now. Now, the first part is physics, right? We have divided our subjects in such a way. Firstly, we will be discussing the important terms and definitions from which 1 to 2 marks questions are easily formed, right? If we talk about important terms of and definitions of physics, we have laws of reflection and refraction, mirror and lens formula, myopia and hypermetropia, power of accommodation, current. What is current? What is the definition of current? How do we represent it? Voltage, what is the representation of current, and what is basically the relationship between voltage and current? Is there any relationship, guys? I believe you know it better. What is resistance and resistivity? Is there any sort of relation between these two? Electric field, magnetic field, what is an electromagnet? Fleming's left hand right hand rules, you should be thorough with such terms. What is electromagnetic induction and what are the characteristics of a good fuel? So these are important terms and definitions from which 1 or 2 marks questions can be easily formed. Okay. If I'm going to talk about the formula or derivations from physics part, Linear magnification is one of the important topics. Power of lens again holds a great value. Mirror and lens formula, Snell's law, refractive index. What is basically Ohm's law is electric power, Joule's law. Okay. And if I'm going to talk about the reasoning part from which theoretical questions could be asked, it would be the application of your refractive index, right? Application of power of lens, atmospheric refraction, dispersion of light, scattering of light, heating effects of electric current. What is basically your biogas? What is basically biogas power plant? What is thermal and hydropower plants? So it's like these topics are very much popular when it comes to reasoning type questions. All right. So this is something related to your physics part. And if I'm going to talk about the important diagrams in physics, we have ray diagrams. So I believe you are pretty much thorough with the ray diagrams. There is not a single ray diagram. There are plenty of ray diagrams, right? So you should be thorough with all those ray diagrams. I believe there are 16 to 18 ray diagrams, right, guys? And refraction through the rectangular glass slab, its diagram is really very important. Human eye, what are their defects and how can we correct them? What is basically a circuit diagram? Electrical symbols and electric fuse, AC-DC motor and generator, magnetic field lines by current carrying conductor. It could be current carrying loop or it could be current carrying solenoid. One of the important topics of electricity, right? Biogas plant. Guys, if you need to talk about the like practical questions, I have already told you that in the beginning of this session that you need to watch the first video of how to score 90 plus in science. Okay. Yes, our friend, we have top 100 questions of Merit Nation. It is attached in the link below. Okay. All right. If I'm going to talk about chemistry here, we have plenty of important terms and definitions. We need to have a good look of type of reactions. So what basically does your type of reactions cover? It could be your displacement reaction. It could be your redox reaction, right? Disproportionation reaction. So the types of reaction covers everything. So you should be thorough with the definition of all those terms. Corrosion, what is basically corrosion? How can you prevent it? Like prevention of corrosion could, like we have divided that part in reasoning though. Rancidity, what is basically an acid and base? What is basically your water of crystallization? What are the examples of those? Physical properties of metals and non-metals. Reactivity series, one of the important series or topics of chemistry, right? Ionic compounds, calcination and roasting, electrolytic refining. What is galvanization, right? It is a prevention, right? So one of the important topics here. Anodizing, what are alloys? Covalent bond, tetravalency, homologous series, what are isomers? What different type of isomers do we have? Okay, what is the composition of soaps and detergents? And what is basically the difference between soaps and detergents? It could be asked too. Okay, different classification and their limitations. Like we have Mendeleev's, what were the drawbacks of Mendeleev's? We should be aware of that too. What are the different periodic properties and what are the trends? Right? If we go left to right, will the metallic character increase or decrease? So all those questions could be asked from these topics only. Cool, guys? Okay, and if I'm going to talk about reactions and equations, we know that in chemistry, we have important reactions too. If I'm going to talk about acids and bases, so we should be thorough of reactions of acids and bases with metals and non-metals. Cool. Reactions of acids or bases with metallic or non-metallic oxides, one of the important reactions or equations of chemistry. Preparations of various salts. reactions of metals or non-metals with oxygen and water. The combustion reaction. How do we represent a combustion reaction? Again, very important. What is an addition reaction? I guess you know it very well, and you know it that we call it as hydrogenation. Hydrogenation reaction is one of the types of addition reaction. Substitution, oxidation, reactions of ethanol and ethanoic acid is again very important, guys. What is basically a saponification reaction? You should be thorough with that too. Okay, so this is something related to your reactions and equations from chemistry part. If I'm going to talk about the reasoning part in chemistry, we should be aware of the preventive measures for corrosions and rancidity. What are the uses of salts? Like we have different type of salts like NaCl, sodium carbonate, bicarbonate. So what are their uses? Where do we use them? Importance of pH in daily lives, one of the important topics, guys. Extraction techniques. So basically it involves your calcination, roasting. Okay, so you should be aware of calcination, roasting, all these terms too. What is micelle formation? Soaps and detergents, how do they work and what are their limitations? We have different type of categories of detergent too, biodegradable, non-biodegradable. So you should be aware of those two, guys. Trends of periodic properties. So from these topics, the reasoning part could be asked from the chemistry section. Okay, guys? Okay, Chaitanya, thank you so much. Now, at the end, we have biology section. What are the important terms and definitions? So all of you were kind of asking about the biology section. Here it is now. Double circulation is one of the important topics. Light reaction, translocation in plants, very important. Systole and diastole, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, again, one of the important topics. Reflex action and arc, chemical coordination, nastic and tropic movements is one of the important topics. What is vegetative propagation? Tissue culture. What is basically a voluntary action? What is basically an involuntary action? You should know what are these individually and what are the differences between them. Okay. What is white matter and what is gray matter? You should be aware of those two and you should know the differences between them. What is a contraceptive? What are the different type of contraceptive measures we have available? You should be aware of those two. Heritable traits, gene versus allele, phenotype versus genotype, natural selection, homologous and analogous organs, genetic drift, and speciation. So these are few important topics of biology, but the list doesn't end here. We have ecosystem. We should know what food web is. We should be aware of the 10% law. Trophic levels, ozone depletion. What are the reasons for the ozone depletion and how can we basically reduce those factors? Sustainable development and what are 3 R's. Okay, guys. So this is something related to the important definitions and terms. Now let us have a look at the important diagrams in biology. So this is one of the important slides, guys. Out of all the slides, this is one of the important one. Human alimentary canal, structure of human heart, structure of nephron, structure of human brain, fertilization process in flowers, human male and female reproductive systems, human respiratory system, cross section of a leaf, nutrition in amoeba, excretory system. How do you draw the structure of neuron? How does the germination of pollen takes place on stigma? Budding in hydra, binary fission in amoeba. So, like directly or indirectly, questions could be asked from the diagram section. Like labeling questions could be asked too. All right, guys. Now, this is all about the today's session. I believe most of the students would be asking, sir, this was not the detailed analysis. Guys, I have already told you that this is going to be a 10 to 15-minute session. Okay. If you want the detailed analysis, you need to go to the first video of how to score 90 plus in science. That is going to be a score booster in your exams. I totally assure you. Okay, guys. Yes, 100 questions link is in the description below. You can find it there. And if you have loved the video, you can click on the subscribe button of Merit Nation. All the best, guys. Perform well, and these tips are really going to help you in boosting your preparation. Good night, everybody. Take care and bye bye.